Hello, my name is Julie Fleites. My candidate number is 0035. My center number is UX139. Today I'm going to be talking about my Aice Media Studies magazine portfolio, AS level. For my creative critical reflection, I'll be going over how I decided to create my magazine, which is an art magazine, which is meant to appeal to artists. My magazine can attract individuals of any age, but my main focus would be young student artists. Which is why I selected my friend Stephanie to be my model for my cover. This is her right here. The magazines that I researched were Art in America, which is a magazine based in America, obviously, that revolves itself around illustrated contemporary art. As you can see, the covers are very simplistic, and there's not a lot of writing on them, except if like the main image has writing in it. But I liked that, but I wasn't really sure if that was my idea for my magazine cover. So then I went on to research this magazine, which is Flash Art. This magazine was my main inspiration for most of my projects, including my cover, my spread, my 2 spreads, and so from there on, I went on and I used their convention of the mastheads. That, well, as you can see here, they don't all have the same font, and I didn't really like that because I like consistency. So if my magazine were to have other issues, they would have stayed with the same font. Maybe I would have changed the colors to black or white, but nothing beyond that. For this one right here, you can tell how it's a sans serif font, which has the little tails at the bottom and at the ends of the letters. And I didn't really like that because it makes it more traditional than modern. And my outlook for this project was for it to be a simplistic and outgoing and modernized magazine for young artists of our day and age. This was another magazine that I researched and I found a lot of inspiration from. It was based in England and it's a bi-monthly issue. Well, as you can see, their codes and conventions are a little bit different from this one, and especially this one. I like this one because it included more writing and it lets you know what their magazine is mostly going to be about. This one, as you can see from their anchorage, it's aimed towards art buyers, art dealers, anything that has with buying or selling art. In this magazine, Art in America, as you can see, it's very simplistic. It doesn't have any anchorage. You just kind of have to like scroll, flip through the magazine to see what it's about. But for this one, you can see how the mastheads gives you an example how they have diversity in their issues, and that's kind of what I was aiming for. By that, these 2 covers of Art of England and Flash Art inspired me the most for my cover page. The font and the thickness of Art of England right here really inspired me to use that kind of font, but not exactly the same, on my cover page. And I also included the date under, I think, right over here. It includes the month and the year. I can't really see it very well, but I think it's 2014. For this cover, as you can see, I only have one main image, and I wanted her to be the main focus, so that's why I didn't add any more images as they had done over here. They added a lot of anchorage that kind of drives their focus away from the main image. That's what I was avoiding. I later then added some anchorage that I also got inspired from this magazine, since this one doesn't have much. It's kind of just like the main featured article at the bottom. I liked how it kind of went around the face but still kept the focus on her face. And I tried using that same method for my cover page, but because of the angle of the image that I took, I couldn't really put any text here because it would cover her face, and I didn't really want to distract the audience from her face. So I decided to end up moving everything to the left, which I think came out pretty clean. It's pretty modernized. The font is very bubbly, but it's still very sophisticated, and I think it attracts my audience, my target audience, very well. So for my table of contents spread, I used a little bit more of the inspiration from the Art in America table of contents. I really liked how they had 2 columns, and I liked how they both started from the middle and then went outward. As you can see in the both of the examples that I provided, they used the contents of tables on either side, either the left or the right, but I decided to go putting the content, the anchorage, more towards the left because it just made more sense to me that way. This cover art from Flash Art, the magazine, also inspired me for my table of contents spread. As you can see, the white and the black, it resonates a lot throughout my magazine. That would be the main focus of my magazine, but since my cover page features Stephanie Murillo as a young artist, I decided to keep that same consistency throughout my feature spread and my cover spread. That brings me to my feature spread and what inspired me to make it the way I did. Some of these magazines, I saw this one and it only included one image towards the left, but I decided to do it on both because I didn't really want to make it too white on the background. So what I did was that I lowered the opacity of the image that I used on this background on the left, and then I put the text over it. I think it came out pretty neat. And then for the images of her artwork, I also added the effect that added a shadow behind this, so it emphasizes these images, because I feel like if I wouldn't have added that, it would have just blended into the background. This image down here, as you can see, it's a cutout that I did using Photoshop. That came in really handy, and I really liked that feature, so I just wanted to include it, so that's why I put it at the bottom. Going back to the programs that I mainly used the Photoshop and the InDesign software, which I used to create the table of contents and the feature spread. These softwares came in really handy, and they were pretty easy to use, but I hadn't used them before, so at the beginning I was pretty lost, but I became used to it after a while. For my photo editing, I used this app on my phone called Viesco and PixArt. These pictures for my feature spread and my cover, I took it with a semi-professional camera, so that's why the quality is a lot better than this one over here. This one I edited so it looks a little bit more sharper using the Viesco app, but I took this picture with my iPhone X, and so I added a lot of contrast and vibrancy to make the colors pop and add a little bit more color to the table of content. To answer the questions, for the first one is, how does your product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? My product, I think it challenges most of the conventions of the magazines that I researched and that I analyzed. For example, for my magazine cover, not a lot of these covers have very vibrant colors, and for that reason, that's why I used her very colorful makeup and the colorful sky edits that I did. Like for example, these covers, the colors are pretty mute, same for this one, except these, but they're still very opaque, they're not very vibrant. As the same goes for this one, except the masthead. And another code and conventions that I used in my own magazine would be in the table of contents. In this one, I did use their convention of using the 2-column table of contents with the numbers and the title. I did include a little description because I didn't find it necessary. It kind of just gives the audience a chance to want to flip through the magazine themselves. The way that I represented social groups or issues in my magazine would be by including my friend Stephanie Murillo as my main image for my magazine. She is a young artist who focuses on contemporary art, of course, and I feel like the quote given at the bottom of the cover art gives me the liberty that the world doesn't, also brings light to the issues going on in society today. The next question would be, how does your product engage with audiences, and how would it be distributed as a real media text? I think my product engages with the audience by the table of contents. My table of contents includes articles such as how to block out the real world well-being in your zone while directly addressing the audience. Since my target audience would be young individuals, I would distribute my product online, or I would advertise it in social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and outlets such as. The other question is, how did your production skills develop throughout this project? I think that working on this project really helped me work very well with InDesign, which I was very unfamiliar before I started this project. And I think it helped me gain basic knowledge of how to use the software. With Photoshop, I was a little bit more experienced because in 8th grade I took a class about it, but I had forgotten all of that since it was almost 3 years ago. And I feel like this project really helped advance my capabilities of using software such as Photoshop and InDesign, which I'm very grateful for. Working on this project also helped me gain knowledge on how a magazine is produced and all the steps you need to get a successful magazine in the works, including marketing, the media consumption, digital consumption, and everything that goes into creating a magazine. The last question would be, how did you integrate technology, software, hardware, and online into this project? Well, looking in retrospect, I would say that I used basically all of these programs to create my feature spread, my table of contents, and my cover page. And for example, for Photoshop, I used to cut out this image and place it here. It's very neat, very useful. For InDesign, I used it to create the 2 columns and to create symmetry beyond the capabilities that a normal spread might have. I also used InDesign for my feature spread, helping me stay organized with the 3-column feature, which came in very handy, and I was very grateful for it. It kept me very organized. For Pixar, I used basically to Photoshop this into the image, and I put into this image, and as well as my cover image. I feel like it's very consistent throughout her part of my magazine. For VS Code, I used to edit the photos taken on my iPhone, which would be these 2. These 2 were very last-minute pictures, so I think VS Code was my best and only choice. And I feel like it worked out pretty well. The colors are very vibrant, and everything was used very efficiently. And so these are my final products, including my cover page, my table of contents, and my feature spread. That concludes my creative critical reflection. My name is Julie Fleites. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.